How do everyone? How do? So yeah, today is Monday the 28th of April 2025, and today is the day, excuse me, when the power went out in pretty much, I think, the whole of Spain, the whole of Portugal, and some of France. So yeah, I think time is now upon us to consider what we need to do to mitigate the effects of such things happening here and elsewhere. Catch you in a bit. Okay, everyone, right. Yeah, like I say, today is the day. It's unknown as I'm talking to you what the cause of the outage has been in Spain and Portugal, but that's pretty much immaterial to this video. If it's a cyber attack, it is. If it's not, it's not. But it does show how quickly the whole of a country or the whole of a society can just grind to a halt in this modern day and age when you have a major power outage. Now, as we move more and more towards technology playing a much bigger part in our lives, the effects of such a thing become even greater in magnitude. So what can we do? I remember back when I first started to get back into the radio, I was interested in some of the emergency comms side of things, and that spawned really from quite a bit of experience out in the countryside with power failures and things like that. I've always been a bit of a natural prepper rather than a sort of official prepper. I've been someone who's always been pretty well prepared. And I remember back in probably about 2009, 2010, something like that, people say, oh, don't be so daft. You were virtually looked upon as a crank if you all of these sort of prepper people, survivalists, whatever you want to call them. I'm sure there's nuances between the two descriptions, but I say I'm just someone who naturally is quite prepared. But yeah, as we move further forward in time, who would have thought that in the pandemic we would have ended up in a lockdown situation? Who would have thought that? So it didn't seem quite so silly. And looking back to that time, what we had to do, we had to quit this place with very little notice. And we just walked out of the door, having filled the car up with a load of stuff, went over to live at the family house where my dad was living on his own after mum passed away. And we stayed there for 4 months without returning home. And that was thanks to having a lot of stuff ready to go in the event of something going badly wrong. And it did. We didn't have to come back here for anything for 4 months. One carload of stuff. So that was proof enough for me that being prepared is a necessity. And as we move on, as you can see, there's been multiple cyber attacks and things like that. Here, post office got hit. Marks and Spencers, I believe, are currently being hit. Things like that. But whatever the outage is caused by, whether it's just some sort of natural, they're talking it may be some sort of natural thing, I don't know. But yeah, I think we do need to make sure with technology that it's great to embrace it. Absolutely fantastic. I love technology. It's very rare that I listen to conventional terrestrial TV, watch terrestrial TV or satellite TV, or listen to terrestrial radio, whatever. But I think it's very important that we still have that at our disposal if need be. So yeah, I love watching everything over IP. But let's run through some of the things that I have at my disposal. There's a satellite TV feed going to the TV in the kitchen. There is a terrestrial TV feed going into the TV in the living room. I've got shortwave radio up there. I've got my CB radio stuff, obviously. I monitor the marine band, which is very good as well for sort of localized weather forecasts. I've got the CB radio as well here and in the vehicle. I've got HF capabilities if need be, and I've also got UHF in the form of my business license and also my PMR 446 equipment. And I do know, as you can probably remember my exploits, that I can go up a hill even with a very basic 4-watt radio. In fact, I've just posted up something now looking back to when we went over to some islands, and simple setup, simple homemade antenna, we were getting 70-80 mile coverage, top of mountains, 120 miles just on the very basic of equipment. So yeah, what dangers do we face? Well, personally, I think the days of conventional warfare are coming to an end, just like the weaponry, like an old club or a sword or a musket, went out of fashion, became obsolete. I think conventional warfare will go the same way, and it will move over far more to cyber warfare. Now that can take quite a few different forms, and I think if there was some sort of coordinated attack on several fronts through cyber attack, I think, as you can probably see with Spain and Portugal, a breakdown in pretty much everything, payment system, the railway system, everything all starts to fail. Stuff that's on battery backup will start to fail after a while. Your internet connection, I've seen a chap doing a video, very good one, on how to power your router in the case of a power failure. Having said that, there's a good chance the box out in the street with the network kit, you've got your fiber optic coming in these days, and then you've got your feeds going out, fiber to the cabinet, your feeds going out over copper to the various properties. How long are the batteries, if there are any, going to last in that? Cell towers, things like that. There's only so many generators they can roll out to keep these things running. So you've got that type of thing. And it's not going to be long before the whole cohesion of society begins to disintegrate, the looting starts and things like that. People will become feral in a very short space of time. And you know the rest. And certainly you've got a cyber attack. Most people think a cyber attack is just like people hacking in, getting into passwords and hacking in. You've got things like backdoor exploits, which are a little, that sounds a little bit vulgar, but that basically is a malicious bit of code to allow an attacker to get into a system remotely. And if you consider that we've had a lot of foreign technology imported and brought into this country and used in critical services, it only takes out millions and millions of lines of code, just that little bit of code that allows an attacker to get in. How many of these things are lying dormant, just waiting for a major attack? And then, of course, you've got things like sleeper cells. You know, people that have come, or people that have been changed over to the thinking of an enemy, become an aggressor. How many of those sort of sleeper cells have we got? You know, people that have diligently worked in an IT department of a major company, perhaps, worked their way up through the levels. Everyone thinks they're a great person. Worked up through, get admin privileges, get access to the comms rooms, etc. Then all of a sudden they're triggered by the enemy state, and they're on the inside. They're on the inside of the firewalls, etc. And they cause havoc on the inside. You've got things like process logic control in power stations and things like that. Basically a way of controlling when things cut in and when pumps start up and things like that. A disruption to the networked process logic control equipment, the PLCs. Again, massive disruption. Massive disruption. So a coordinated attack, an attack on the mobile phone system. You imagine the chaos that that would cause. And you wouldn't have to, an enemy state wouldn't have to leave it long. They could just sit back and watch a society turn to dystopia, implode, and then they could virtually walk in and probably would be welcomed in as an invading force to say, right, we're here to save you all. That's how easy it would be. No physical damage really compared with conventional warfare or nuclear warfare. Compared with that, just let social breakdown do the hard work for you through cyber attack. So yeah, just thinking now, the old, what you call the PSTN, public service telephone network, is being switched off, and the old phone numbers, the landlines, they're all being deprecated, and if you want to keep your number, it will then appear on your router as a voice over IP number. So at least when you had a conventional exchange, a generator down at the exchange, the batteries down at the exchange, your electric could go out, but your phone would still work. That's not going to happen now. The electric goes out and your phone's plugged into the back of the router instead of a socket on the wall. It's going to stop working. So the worry for me, even though I don't use much old-fashioned technology as such, is that it will be lost to us. So I think now it is more important than ever that people are prepared for situations such as we've got in Spain or worse. And yeah, I would say I'll probably do some more videos on this if this one proves to be popular and people want to see more in the comments. But I would say simple, robust comms, as simple as it needs to be. I do see some tech prep type channels, and they've got this link to that, they've got this link to that, they've got this where they can send over emails to this, that, and the other. Great. It's great. It's interesting. But you must remember to bring in the human element and also the weather element to these things. And you imagine now, a catastrophe is not going to, it may be a weather catastrophe. A catastrophe is not going to wait for good weather. It could be blowing hurricane winds, heavy rain, snow. Maybe if you're military trained, you might have a more sort of level head. But to the sort of regular person, it's going to be chaos. And you imagine now going out with, this needs to plug into that, and then that needs to plug into this so I can send this over. You imagine your hands are cold, you're shaking, you're not thinking straight, you've got brain freeze. There's a good chance all that stuff's going to stop working. So you must have an option to do something so basic as a handheld radio, or a radio you can just plug a simple antenna into, and then, as I've illustrated over the years, you can get some range. And then perhaps things will start to recover slightly in an off-grid situation with the main comms down. Then some of this more advanced technology may start to come in, and we can start restoring some email facilities and things like that. So again, I have a console up there for Meshtastic, which is an off-grid messaging system. All my critical systems here are backed up with UPS, uninterruptible power supply, and as you can see maybe on my other channel, I do go off-grid in the vehicle quite a lot, so I could actually bug out and get some comms going from a vehicle or whatever. So I've got power banks, things like that. And indeed, we always keep, well, what really brought it home that it's worth doing was that time we split from this location, and we went over to the family house. We took all my tins of food, noodles, all that. We took that with us. And at the beginning of the pandemic, nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew how this thing was being transmitted as far as the virus was concerned. And we went for 3 weeks without exiting the family home. We lived off of stocks. So it goes to show, being prepared, there's nothing cranky about it at all. And as far as comms are concerned, edge your bets, keep it simple. By all means, experiment with the more elaborate stuff and all the rest of it. Maybe introduce that. as time goes on, but your first sort of grab bag, whatever, has got to be robust. It's got to be very robust. It's got to be something you can use pretty much blindfolded, because when it really kicks off, when the shit does hit the fan, you could be shaking, you could be freezing cold, it could be pissing down with rain, who knows? You could be trying to get up the side of a mountain, that type of thing, to get some height. So keep it simple, keep it robust, and it would be nice to see, say, the licensed side of radio, the amateur radio people, and the unlicensed side of radio, you know, the PMR 446, I think it's a GMRS in America, for once bury the hatchet and start working together. And I would certainly say the time is absolutely right for, say, an amateur radio stroke unlicensed situation where we test comms. There was one many moons ago. It was absolutely great when there was Simon. I can't remember your call sign there, Simon, but there was an event organised when loads of people went all around the country, and it linked the country. The UK is quite a small country. It'd be very simple, really, just to get high ground stations out with your 2 meter, your 70 centimeters, your PMR 446, your CB radio on 27 megahertz, AM, FM, sideband, and all the rest of it. And we could link up this small island pretty damn easily, to be honest. So that's the sort of thing we need to be thinking of. Incorporate some easy off-grid comms, like there's a few competing things at the moment, but Meshtastic, Meshcore, that type of thing. Let's see what prevails in that respect. And we need to get ready, because as you can see from Spain and Portugal today, these things can and do happen. Anyway, hopefully that's some food for thought for you. And 104 checking out for now. Cheers, everyone.